Godzilla Singular Point is out in Netflix, and this series is a new take on the king of the monsters and his role in the world. It brings a new origin story to the kaiju and brand new designs, some designs that are way more radical than others. In it, we see 3 types of Rodan, 4 forms of Godzilla, Anguirus, a swarm of Kumongers, a school of Manders, a new kaiju from India called Salunga, and even small moths that came out in a big swarm. Maybe they were a version of Mothra. But the best part was in the end credit scenes of the final episode of the series, and in it we see Mechagodzilla. So before we go deeper into the video, subscribe to be a part of the MindQ family. And now let's discuss this mecha. Now let's start first with the Godzilla skeleton found hidden underground. Okay, so Godzilla is a singular point and is in control of the red dust archetype. While Godzilla can be killed and die from other factors, he will always manifest himself again, and after his death with improved control over the red dust as he comes to understand our reality better. However, it is not known how long the revival process takes, and his last incarnation dies 50 years prior to the events of the series, before re-emerging as another form called Aquatilus, and it just goes on evolving into the ultimate form. In all 4 of his forms, Godzilla expels a large amount of archetype from his skin in the form of a red mist. The skeleton of the previous Godzilla seems to show the same ability of producing the red mist, and although it's dead, it still resonates a frequency that is translated into a song. So the question of Mechagodzilla, why is it being created? Why is Mechagodzilla being constructed by humans in the end credit scenes of the final episode? Well, since Godzilla and the other kaiju came up abruptly and humans with their weapons had little to no effect on killing the kaiju, this would have created a desperation among our species. And just as in the Monsterverse, a secret organization would take it on itself to create a doppelganger of the kaiju in order to fight it the next time it comes back. Since by then they would know that Godzilla wasn't just a single phenomenon, because the skeleton was evidence of a past event, and if there were 2 that came up, then why not a 3rd Gojira? Mechagodzilla would be humanity's answer to this threat from another dimension, from the world of the archetype and the singular points. So now let's see the design of this mecha and what would it be like. While under construction and far from being completed, the mecha seems to be very much resembling the robot from the Showa era, with visible elements of Godzilla's skeleton still apparent. The robot would have the same posture of Godzilla Ultima, which is kinda like a hunched dinosaur, as it was created over the skeleton of the previous one that died. And of course it would have to be a little bit bigger and taller than Ultima, with the addition of metal parts on top and below the feet. So let's start with the limbs, as they appear first on the end credit scenes as blueprints of the construction work. The metalwork on the hands and feet of Mechagodzilla seems to be well integrated with the skeleton, as the joints of each part being implanted with artificial red parts that would allow for controlled movement. The claws of the limbs looks to be outside the metal superstructure, but they are still addition to the moving parts. Most notably, there are weapon systems that appear to be either large caliber guns or phase beam weapons, since Godzilla that appeared in the series was invulnerable to conventional weaponry, so a new type of weapon. Then we get to the upper part of the body, the neck and the head, and by the looks of it, the metal superstructure would be very similar to the Showa era Mechagodzilla. The dorsal plates are embedded in the exoskeleton with power cells being stored in them. The eyes and nose looks to have weapons integrated to them, just like the Showa mechas. And the central computing system and the power units are both embedded inside the skull, which houses the brain. And the mouth houses a beam weapon that can be shot like an atomic breath, which would mimic the atomic breath of the real Godzilla. The chest plates also possess 2 X's, giving the vibe of the original mecha design, but the joints of the limbs give a Kiryu feel to them. So regarding the powers, or the probable powers that this Mechagodzilla would possess, by looking at the blueprint design and the robot under construction, this mecha would have eye beams and maybe nose beams as well. Now the main weapon would be the beam that is installed inside the mouth, and this one would rival the power of the atomic breath. The hands and feet to have large caliber guns that can either shoot projectiles or energy beams from them, and obviously there would be missiles as well. And if you look closely at the shoulder of the mecha, there are parts that allow for shoulder based heavy weaponry to be installed in them, just like those of Kiryu and the Super Mechagodzilla. And that's about all we have on Mechagodzilla from Singular Point. And this one will most definitely be the big baddie of the 2nd season. So now we come to the end of the video. Do like for support, subscribe to be a part of the MindQ family, and most importantly, hit that bell button for regular updates on new monster content right here on MindQ. Till the next one, take care fam.